dark side of doing a startup is you're probably not as financially wealthy as someone working at Google in the AI team, making gobs of money and the stability. But the flip side is you get so much creativity and the learning is so fast in startups. And like there's pros and cons to working in startups. The pros are like you are so autonomous, and this is for everyone at a good startup, that you can learn 10 years of work within like a 1 or 2 year period. When I started my company, I was looking at doing an MBA or doing a startup. And I'm like, do I do my MBA or do I go do something else or do I do a startup? I had $50,000 before I started this company. And I remember thinking like, if I take that, I can give it to an MBA and then they have my 50 grand and then I have a degree, or I could take it and put it into myself and see where that gets me. And I think it was a way better outcome because if you're investing in yourself, you are on the line and you have way more control over your destiny.
In this episode, Daniel opens up about the hardest part of his life, a period when he lost nearly everyone close to him while running his first startup. Over a span of 2 months, he lost his parents, his best friend, multiple family members. Most would have walked away. Daniel didn't. He explains how that experience changed his view on life, work, and what truly matters. We dive into the mental toll of entrepreneurship, the reality behind the startup hustle, and the lessons that helped him hold his company together through crisis. Daniel shares what kept him going, how his team carried the business when he couldn't, and why culture is the single biggest factor in a company's survival. We also took a look at his next chapter, building JustPaid AI, an AI platform simplifying payments and accounts receivable for businesses. His insights on resilience, leadership, and focus are a masterclass for any founder navigating pressure. Stay tuned. This conversation offers a rare look at what it means to build, break, and rebuild again. Daniel, welcome to the One Away Show.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
It's great to have you here. So Daniel, what is the one away moment that you want to share with us today?
So I guess talk about one away moment. Like, is that like a defining moment in your life?
Yeah, defining moment in your life, business, it could be childhood, wherever you want to take us.
Yeah. I think, I'll start off with like this will wake people up, and I'll tell people like about the dark side of like startups. And this is the side that a lot of people don't want to hear about because it's very glorified. I mean, Brian, you're in a startup, so you know a lot of the dark sides of startups. But I'd say that there was a defining moment in my first startup where this is all personal, had nothing to do with my startup, where I'd say my personal life was falling apart, where was working on my startup was probably 7 years in, give or take. And I had a lot of like tragedy happen personally. And I'm like, these are the moments that will make or break a person and like change their life. So for me, where do I begin with this? I had a friend who worked at my company, my first startup. He was, I would say, a really close friend. I was like his best man in his wedding, and just really, really, really close. Anyway, my dad, not out of nowhere, he passes away. He had brain cancer. It wasn't quite out of nowhere. He passes away. And I'm running my startup. And, you're in the thick of it. And you just kind of like, something like that like pulls you immediately out of like what you're working in. And it's a really defining moment when you have like your parent die on you. So for me, I was like already like trying to wrap my head around that. And then on top of that, my close friend who I was his best man at his wedding passes away. Someone I worked with at my company. And that wasn't enough to rattle me. It was actually horrible emotionally. It was emotional turmoil. You go through a lot. And when you're running a business, you have to focus on, you're juggling so many different things. So you're juggling all these balls. But like, I think this is where I started to crack. Was what happened was, I don't even know how to say this, but basically my mom passes away, my uncle passes away, my my cat passes away, and my grandmother passes away.
All within how long?
All within like a month and a half, like give or take 2 months. And when you're running a startup, like, what do you do? Like, your whole world just like flips. And I think it was a moment where like I was just doing a lot of self-reflecting, like, I would say way more on like the spiritual side of things, like what the hell is life about? And it really like shook me to the core. And I was like thinking about just life in general. And I'm like, I have to live life. I have to enjoy life. I have to go for what I want because we're all going to fucking die. And I think that was where it really like rattled me, because all these people around me just like, they were just gone. Like my mom and my dad were like, I would say a foundation for me in my life. And my best friend who I'd hang out with all of the time, who like believed in my startup, just gone. And then all these other people around me just gone that were like a support system for like my whole life. And I'm like, shit, this is insane. And then I had the burden of like running a startup, which, you know, if you're not in it, it dies, right? Like it's your baby. It's not like these things just don't magically work like forever. Like the founders of Cursor, love it or hate it, if they're not there, that product may not exist for much longer because there's so many competitors like on it. So they have to continually be working on it. And like, I think it was really rough, like, because I was going to funerals. I was like trying to put on a good face for my company, but I definitely felt like people were feeling it and they didn't know why. It was hard for me to talk about it publicly at my company because what are you going to do? Talk about all these like horrible experiences. They knew about the person who passed away at the company. It rattled everybody at the company, but I think it was just like, it was just so much going on personally. I just didn't want to talk about it. So I was really like processing things and isolating the company to what was happening. And it was a defining moment for me because I could have just given up. I personally could have like folded and given up. And what did that mean? It's like, just like stop the startup, live a normal life. And what is a normal life? I don't know, like immediately find like a stable job of some sort so I can just like process what just happened. But the reality is when you're running a startup, if you give up, it dies. So I was like, I don't want it to die. I want it to succeed. I want it to be successful. So like I had to psychologically keep myself motivated. And it was a very, very stressful time for me to figure out how to do that because there was a lot happening emotionally inside of me. And it was a defining moment because like you can give up, like, and there are those moments for every founder where like they hit, I would call it rock bottom. Like there is this love or hate Elon Musk. There's this moment where he's like crying in a room on YouTube because Tesla's about to go bankrupt and SpaceX is about to go bankrupt and he's personally about to go bankrupt because he's just poured everything into it and none of them are working. And it's like these weird moments, like, where things can just like fall apart very quickly. You know, it's those moments where you kind of like have to pull through. And I would say like a lot of founders, like I know personally just gave up immediately and said, I'm not doing the startup anymore. But for me, I had this mindset of like, I'm not going to give up because it's like a dream. And I like, you only get one opportunity at something like this, you know, and you have to make it work. And I was talking myself through like having to like make this successful, and it kept the company going. And I had another thing is you need really good people to rely on. And I was fortunate that I had found a team that when I was going through this hell, they were pulling their weight 100%. So like I had an amazing co-founder named Michael. He was pulling his weight. And then I had an amazing team doing all this other work to keep this thing moving. And it was just awesome because they were doing a lot and it wasn't all out just on me. So like when you're running like an accounting firm or a PR firm, it's like the people make the thing successful. Or if you're building a software company, like the people make the thing successful. I was fortunate to like have built a community of people that believed in the mission, that when I was going through this hell, they were figuring out how to build it regardless of my mental state. Does that make sense? Like, and it was a really defining moment for me because I saw them like pushing themselves, and I was like, it made me like motivated still, even though I was like going through all this emotional turmoil. And it was grueling because like, you know, I talk about how they all died, but they all, what, you know, every single one of those was its own traumatic like thing in a course of such a small period of time. And you know, even today, like when people talk about their parents, I'm like, oh, that's right, parents live longer than mine did, because mine passed away very suddenly, and you know, my best friend passed away very suddenly, and it's like, oof, you know, it was super traumatic. So it was a defining moment for me where I became way more spiritual in some ways, and like I would say it just made me more bold, because I'm like, in 150 years, everyone that's out here on this earth fighting or whatever's going on or building things, it's we're all going to be gone. So it's like when you hesitate, I shouldn't do that, I shouldn't do this. It's like you should, because like life is short. And I think like all of that turmoil in my life made me way more bold in some ways, where I'm like, I just have to get my creative side out there, because if I don't, what's the point of it all? Because, you know, some people were taken really like early on in my life, and I'm like, you just have to do that. But anyway, sorry, I went really dark. That's like,
No. So can I ask, I mean, first off, I just want to say thanks for, I mean, we've known each other almost a year now. And, you know, it's funny, you react to certain things I share sometimes, and I wonder why, and I can maybe start putting some pieces together, maybe what's emotionally resonant with you and the fighter spirit. But my question for you is, Daniel, like, yeah, like you had a significant amount of loss personally in a very short window. And you talked about, you know, other founder friends who just kind of folded, etc., when things got hard. Like what did keep you going? Like when you think about like why you dug so deep, and why you pushed through and kept it together, like what was keeping you tethered to doing this, when, you know, in many cases people could have said, you're so focused on the company, you missed, you know, the people right in front of you who got you here, you know, like what was it that was like, this is worth it to stay?
I mean, I had a lot of close friends that were working. Like I had three best friends. Like I had three really close people start the company with me. So one of them went away, but there were still two people there, and they were like looking to me in some senses, like, we need you here. And like when you start people say don't start a company with your friends, but when your friends are smart and aggressive in a good way, and they're excited and they're good at business, like find friends like that to start a company with. But like, because they were still there and they were just such good people I worked with, like they were really fun and like energetic, and the energy and the culture was so passionate. It made me love going to work. It wasn't a job to me. It was like, I get to go work on things that I love with people that are fun and exciting, and like we're really doing crazy stuff, like changing the world. And I don't just mean that. It's like they were just like really fun people to be around. Like, and you don't get that always at a company. You know, like sometimes you feel an energy in an air, and like, you know that something's going to happen. So like all this like hell is happening to me on one side, and all this like turmoil is happening, and like distress, and like there was a lot of financial issues, like just stuff going on. And on the other side, there were just these passionate people like pulling me forward. And it's like a marriage in a sense, like when you have a really good marriage or partnership, that's when you need those people the most. Like, and I think that was a time where I was down in my head thinking like dark, I wouldn't say dark thoughts, but just like, just like really processing just what's going on. Like, and then, you get on a phone call with someone from work and they know what you're going through, but they're so excited and passionate about the product. It also helped alleviate some of that stress of life.
Yeah, I really resonate with what you just said. I'm looking down, just writing stuff. So, that energy, that air, like even though everything looks like maybe shit in reality and everything's on fire, you can kind of feel what's uncovered. You can kind of feel what hasn't been like uncovered at the visible eye yet, but you can feel what's bubbling up. That is, this promise of what's ahead, and that energy towards a much better future. So I totally relate with that, and the people side of doing this with people who bring you to life, because you're right? Like the pain of working at a job, like there's pain either way. There's pain of fighting through, and there's also pain of pursuing the startup or pursuing corporate life, or taking a job being at another company that maybe doesn't have the culture that you're creating, and you got to weigh those options. And you are creating your future, even though you had your past and unfortunate, terrible, horrific events kind of weighing you down. But in a way, you could be a creator of what was ahead. So yeah, I mean that's really really special that you kept going.
But you see a lot of founders give up. And I kind of know one of the reasons why they give up, because they don't have a good support system. Like, if you don't have the right team in place and then something traumatic happens in your life, do you think your startup is going to be successful? The answer is no. If you don't have a team there, like it's done. Like if you have a 2-person legal team, and then your partner is like kind of checked out, half checked in, half checked out, and you're not really friends, and you're combative with them. And then like whatever, you go through a traumatic divorce, and then let's just say like a child dies at the same time. Do you think that legal firm will survive? The answer is probably, I don't think so. Because the two partners are one fighting, they're not excited to work with each other. And then you're going through hell. It's like, this is the reality of doing a startup. You will go through personal events in your life, and if the team is not cohesive and you're not trusting each other and they're not pushing and pulling you forward, it's like, it's not going to work long term. And what I mean by long term is like 10 years. Like you might last 2 years, might last 3 years, but like these things have to have good teams to work for long periods of time. And like, I look at Cursor, the company. Everybody is on top of Cursor trying to create a Cursor competitor. And Cursor is like this really cool AI tool for coding. But you see like Microsoft building a tool, you see OpenAI trying to build a tool, you see a bunch of other people like just trying to build tools like Anthropic. Why is that team so disruptive and so fast? The team is so dialed in, and they iterate so fast, and the culture there is probably really good. Like, is something magic happening there that, I don't know, the team will pull the rest of the team forward if like someone's going through something. Every company is different, I guess. Like,
yeah, Daniel. So you talk about the team and kind of what they have. It's like this. You might be able to copy, a product, but doesn't mean you can copy the team that's building the product, and the disruptive nature of that team gelling and meshing and investing in one another and carrying each other through hard times. Like that's reps, days, years of fighting for the same cause and mission. And you're right. That's really hard to break up when it's going right. For you, this was Dr. Chrono, correct? This was your first. Okay. So you, so When this all happened, what was the stage? Like where in the company trajectory were you?
We were about we were about 8 years in. Yeah. So it wasn't like an early stage startup. It was like we built a team out. It was a robust team. Like there were people I could depended on me. I depended on them. So maybe if it happened earlier in a company's life, it's probably more dangerous because you may not have figured things out. You may not have hired the right team. Like it takes time to build a really good culture, right? So like I was fortunate that I had enough time to like really get the Lego building blocks in place to go through something like that. But I do see a lot of founders in San Francisco that give up fast because of trivial things. Like they just are angry at their co-founder. It's not trivial. It's just like sometimes there's bigger issues. There's bigger issues that you have no control over. Like if your co-founder and you are fighting over like the design of the website, like pick and choose your battles so you build a good team and culture. Like you want to be strategic and like build relationships also and make people feel like they're empowered and they have the autonomy to like run. If you're all encompassing and you're doing everything yourself and you're telling people I'm going to do it myself and then you push them on the side and then they kind of are not as effective, like that could be problematic. You know, Brian Chesky was talking about founder mode, and I don't know if you heard about founder mode too much. Like that was a a defining moment for Airbnb where like COVID hit. And then all these executives where Brian wasn't happy working at Airbnb because he brought in all these executives and they were telling him what to do. But like founder mode was really a defining moment for him where he's like, I get to dictate how to operate the company and I want to run it my way because I've been here the longest and I'm a lot of these people will be leaving and, for me, I want what I want and I needed to do it that way. But I don't think he's not saying something that's nuanced, which is, he's not micromanaging people. He has to steer the ship in the right direction to fix it because COVID happened. He needed to make sure that they just didn't go bankrupt because they went from travel the world to like nobody traveling at all. And then the revenue fell through a cliff. So like founder mode just means if you believe in something so passionately, like push forward on that dial, even though there's 100 other dials, but make sure that this is happening and have the team focus to get this one thing done, whatever that is. But you also want the team to have the freedom, but you don't want them to like screw the thing up. So there's weird nuances there. Kind of going all over the place, I'm sorry. But it's like when you're going through something traumatic and you have a good team in place and they already are dialed in, it's like you kind of have all the pieces in place. But there are these defining moments in every single company where like the founder is either personally going bankrupt, there's something hugely traumatic happening in their life. If you don't have that team in place, your chances of survival are way lower. If you have friends at the company, like, and this is something like I really genuinely like loved was like people had really good friendships. People liked working together. They genuinely liked working together. And the culture was like after work, they would work, they'd hang out together. So it was a really unique experience in that way. And you don't always get that. And how did we create that? It was just a lot of like, it was just natural because a lot of friends came together that were like hyper business focused. That made it a really, really, really great experience. But like, if you're starting and like you're fighting with your co-founder 6 months in, that's a really bad sign. And if you have a traumatic experience happen, like, and you have to like, whatever, say you're, someone, knock on wood, someone in your family has like a heart surgery and you have to take care of them like for a year or 2 years or 3 years. And you didn't build that team out yet. And the revenue in the startup isn't there yet. It's so brittle it might die. I was fortunate enough that I had the team and I was like, and all of that was in place for me to like just mentally like try to do work and that at the same time.
Yeah, it sounds like you're as someone put it, who I met a few months ago, who was on the brink. He said he had his soldiers. He had his people who were going to fight with him. And I thought that was a really good term. Call them soldiers. And it sounds like you had your soldiers in place to march with you, even if you weren't marching at the same speed because you were being pulled back by life events. So it's beautiful. It was really nicely and raw put. Daniel, for those that don't know you, like what was the end result for Dr. Chrono? I mean, I know it was a good outcome, but like where like you went through all this hell and hardship when you could have folded and you kept going. Was it worth it?
Was it worth it? I mean, I think there's always the good side and the bad side. Like the dark side of doing a startup is you're probably not as financially wealthy as someone working at Google in the AI team, making gobs of money and the stability. But the flip side is you get so much creativity and the learning is so fast in startups. And like there's pros and cons to working in startups. The pros are like you are so autonomous. And this is for everyone at a good startup that you can learn 10 years of work within like a 1 or 2 year period. And like when I started my company, I was looking at doing an MBA originally or doing a startup. And I'm like, do I do my MBA or do I go do something else or do I do a startup? And I remember thinking like, if I take that, I had $50,000 like before I started this company, and I was like, I can give it to an MBA and then they have my 50 grand and then I have a degree. Or I could take it and put it into myself and see where that gets me. And I think it was a way better outcome because if you're investing in yourself, you are, I hate to say it, it's like you are on the line and you have way more control over your destiny. And the thing about an MBA, I'm not knocking an MBA, but it's like 2 years of your life. You're paying someone to teach you, and then you come out and still have to find like a career for yourself. It wasn't the best route for me. I felt like I didn't need that. I needed to build a career right away, and I had $50,000 to do it. So like the answer is it was a really good outcome for me because I think I was like naturally inclined, and this is like different psychologies. I was naturally inclined towards startups versus doing something else, like building companies, building products from nothing. That's where I kind of shine.
Yeah. I really like what you said about, I've never really believed in, for better or worse, the MBA programs. They have their own objectives as well to make money. It's all a game at the end of the day. And I think, your 50K went to you and your own personal development and led on a rapid growth journey and a very expedited journey. So I think there's something to be said about that. And I appreciate the way you think about this journey of building a startup, because you're right. When you walk into a room like with people who might be at have worked their way up and they're making $2 million as AI researchers at Google or wherever, their bank account and what they're being paid doesn't necessarily mean they're smarter, better, it's more talented. They don't have a more talented skill set, but like the expansiveness of your learnings, the speed, the relationships, getting that to ultimately compound in the direction that you want is significant. And so I think it's hard though for I think people to have that long-term view when they measure so much of their worth and success by what's in the bank account, or it might be easier to fold. They don't understand by sticking with it and continuing what they're getting out of that experience. And I think what I'm hearing you say is the upside, even if I couldn't see it on paper immediately, is far greater looking back at least the first journey that you went down.
I mean, I would say so. Again, there's the dark sides of it. Like, you're not going to get that security blanket and all that security that comes working with a big company. But I also feel like that's a veil. Like, it's a thin safety net that people believe is there. Meanwhile, you saw, like, they let a lot of people go at a lot of these companies. It's like, you think you have this safety net, but the reality is it may not be there. And I'm like, if you have a few paths you can go, and if you have the opportunity, like if you have a mortgage, or if there's someone ill in your family, or if there's just like something you need, like specifically out of a specific company, then do that. But like, for people that have like light, they're traveling light. They don't have a lot of burden. Like, they don't have a mortgage, or maybe they have a mortgage, but they don't have like 5 kids. Like, you kind of have to map it out, and then you can like create your risk tolerance. I do think like people who have a lot of like responsibility personally, they may not have the agility to like go do what I did. I instinctively knew I was in my 20s and early 30s where I could take big risks, and it wasn't just about a big paycheck. Like, I remember I interviewed at, I don't want to name names, like several big companies, and some of them were, all the names. And I just remember thinking, like, while I was interviewing there, and they felt this from me, like, it didn't feel good. I felt like I was just going to be like you ever see a spoke on a bike tire? There's like hundreds of spokes on a bike tire. I felt like I wasn't really going to do anything. And I just felt it naturally. So like, I wanted to learn, and I wanted to like be a learning machine, and I got addicted to that. Like, I love the process of the learning. I don't know if everybody is built that way. I just like, even, my new startup, JustPaid, it's like, it is a very different organization than my first company. And I am continually learning what tools we need to use, like the different type of people we're working with. Like, it is unique in itself. And I'm like, that learning gets me excited every day when I just am like, oh, we can do this, we can do that. Oh, this is how we can close this type of customer. Oh, we could build this like this. Oh, look at this new AI tool. It's like so much stuff coming at me. When you're at a bigger company, they kind of, and then rightfully so, they put you in a position to do a job, to maybe do one thing. And for me, I wasn't built for that. I like to jump around. I like to see things at a very high level. I like to get into the weeds. So I'm going all over the place, and my brain likes to feel that excitement. And some people, I think they like the security of just the safety of a larger company. And if you do feel that way, you should go work for a large company. It's just, everyone is built differently, right? I mean, you're just like, you have your own company. It's like, why didn't you go work? You live in San Francisco. It's like, there are so many amazing companies around you, so many awesome software sales jobs, like software marketing jobs. Like, there's so much stuff happening. You didn't take that path.
Yeah. I mean, I think to what you said, everything you said, right? I see myself as much more than a salesperson. Having the ability to sell allows you to create a vision, and yeah. So anyways, this is about you, but yeah, I think the idea of being limited in what you can create and do is I think scarier than just being great at just selling one thing to make an income. But you're right, it's a lot more volatile. And I also agree, someone I was talking to, it's actually spinning up everything I had, I've shared it with you. He said to me at his house, he said, to your point, it's a lot harder when you have kids to get something really off the ground if you don't have money. It's a lot harder when you have a wife and a responsibility, but don't have the financial means. And, he said, you see a lot of people go through some pretty hard stuff personally. It's almost inevitable. The odds are so stacked against you for like your personal life in that regard to go well at such an early state. And that resonates. And I think, things I saw growing up pushed me in this direction early, and I don't regret it. Sometimes I wish it was a little easier, but hey. If you are a founder looking to grow without raising capital or giving up control, Relent is built for you. Founded by entrepreneurs who've scaled without outside funding, Relent helps companies find and retain talent, lower operational costs, and reinvest in growth. We've hired nearly 10 team members through Relent and streamlined our entire cost structure, freeing up capital to put toward what matters most. Even small teams can set up offshore operations quickly, compliantly, and without heavy infrastructure. With deep expertise in the India-US corridor, Relent combines cultural fluency with operational rigor and guides everything from team design to long-term scaling. Grow on your terms and start with Relent. To learn more, visit relent.team/arcbound. One question that is coming up for me about you is you had a good outcome with Dr. Chrono. But you didn't just like ride off into the sunset. You didn't just say, okay, I'm going to go invest and go like be a GP in a fund and just be on the other side of the table. You said, I'm going to jump right back in the fire. I don't know how long the time period was until you went from one to the next, but this was let me go be a founder again and start at the bottom. Versus let me just ride the coattails of a success. Why? Like what made you say I'm ready for this this chapter again?
I mean, I think I've thought about it quite a lot, but when you're sharp, you lose it fast and it atrophies fast. So if you look at like the best people in sports, if you look at the best people in business, they're very, very similar. If you stop doing what you're doing, you atrophy. And by atrophy, I mean like you lose that skill set fast. So like if you look at some of the best musicians out there, if they stop playing music, they atrophy. Like they don't have the ability to come back. So I realize there's this window, and this is for everyone, where you have so much energy in life. It's like, what am I going to do in that window to like build meaning for myself, right? I felt sharp. I felt like I knew what I was doing. I felt competent. If I walked away, I wouldn't be able to reboot. And I wasn't ready to walk away because I felt like I had one more in me to do something meaningful. And if I walked away to become a GP, you can't just hop back in. In my mind, again, there's always people that can, counteract this. But in my mind, I was like, the moment I walk away, I start to atrophy. And what does that mean? It means my network begins to forget me. My tech skills begin to fade. My sales skills begin to fade. I start to travel the world and like forget about how to juggle like a lot of complex tasks. You just start to move in a different direction in life, which isn't bad. It's just I didn't want to walk away from the fight yet. And, I do think that there are times when people should just throw in the towel. And then there are other times when people should just like keep going. And, it depends on the person, depends on their thinking, depends on their situation. I just, I wanted to build one more because I loved building the culture. I love having a mission. I love having a competitor to go after. All of those things are like fun psychologically for me in like the art of a startup. And like it just makes it a lot of fun because it's like, okay, you wake up in the morning and you think about like your one competitor, and you probably have one, Brian, in your head, and you're like, that's the one I want to go after, right? Like I'm going to go after them and like take them down. Or I'm going to do this and change the world. Like, and it creates a meaning for you. And for me, it's like the microcosm. It's like, I view like teams as like almost like they're little tribes of people working together. And it's a lot of fun, like working with smart people. And it just gets me excited to like meet people that just are so passionate. And, you kind of have to, it's really hard to build those teams, but when you do, it's like magic. And I'm like, that is the fun of doing it. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to walk away. Granted, now I'm like doing some hobbies that I am passionate about that I wasn't doing in my first startup. Like I do need to carve out time for other things. It's not just all about just that one thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, think when you meet someone you're cut from a similar cloth because of just the spirit they embody. It's beyond what they're saying, right? But you're saying all the things with the spirit you embody. I'm like, yeah, that tracks. Yeah, I feel a lot of it in my own bones of how you're describing this. I mean, do you think you'll ever stop? Like, do you think you'll ever get out of the fight? Like, do you see a life for yourself that's different?
Yeah, I would say like I'm going to fight as best as I can to make this successful. But like, if it doesn't, again, like every startup is like, the end game is the end game. And it's like, what is that? I don't know. I'll know in 5 years. But like, there may be different paths for me. And I run them in my head. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll move away from Silicon Valley and reboot. Like, that's another path I could take. Because Silicon Valley, for the people that don't live in Silicon Valley, it's very much a work culture. It's a hustle culture. It's a everyone needs to get ahead culture. It's not bad. It's just different than the way that a lot of the world operates. And I don't know what it is. It's just like around us. It's around Brian and it's around me. It's like everyone here is thinking about tech. They're thinking about how do we build like a future? How do we like design these products? When you leave Silicon Valley, there's so much other stuff going on in the world. It's refreshing because I've been here a long time. I've been here 20 years. It's like, it's a very different thing outside. So it's like, if I was to leave, I might just travel a little bit and like situate someplace outside of Silicon Valley for a bit of time. Because if I'm here, I feel the pull. It's this natural thing that everyone is pulling each other forward, which is really amazing. Like you feel it. You look at people in San Francisco, Brian, and you're like, I can be like them. I can go after them. I could do what they do. They're not so much better than me. I can like try like they're trying. And your mind goes into this really like hyper state mode. And everybody does pull each other forward. It's a mind hive of like smart people. Outside the valley, like some places, it's just different things going on. And it's refreshing. Like, I don't know. Sometimes you go to like a different state and you look at the architecture and it's so different than San Francisco. And you're like, they care about architecture here. Or you go somewhere else and it's just like, you just see like nature everywhere. It's just different nature and it's raining out all the time. You're like, it rains here and everybody's used to the rain. And you just like, you get different parts of your, senses going. So it's like, for me, I could and I might, but right now I'm here and I'm like in the fight, at least for this one more fight. And I'm like, I want to take this all the way, which is as far as I can take it. But, life is long. It's like I might want to just move away from Silicon Valley in the future if it comes to that. But I do love being here because there's so many smart people. Like, tomorrow I'm going on a walk with two people that are really brilliant people that are just super passionate about their companies and they want to build amazing stuff. I'm like, you don't just get that anywhere. People fly from all over the world and they all want to be here. It's just like it's a melting pot of all this stuff. But, there's so much going on in the rest of the world. I'm like, we isolate ourselves when we stay in just Silicon Valley. I think Tony Fadell, the founder of Nest, the guy who created the thermostat, those thermostats. I remember I was sitting having coffee with him one day and like he was telling me like, oh, I was just like, I'd leave Silicon Valley and I realized I couldn't control my house remotely. Like his brain was not thinking like here. So the whole thermostat was created based off of him just traveling. And he would, he created the iPod and then he left Apple and then he traveled and he realized I could create something else. And like he came back and he did Nest. He did leave Silicon Valley permanently, but it's like without that like experience, he wouldn't have even like created such an amazing device. So it's good to just change things and, reset, but I might move away. I don't know. I do have like when I left, when I moved on from my last company, I did buy an RV. So I have an RV, did drive across country a few times. So like I am, I do try to get out of that, I'd say like a different mindset every so often.
I appreciate the kind of raw sharing. I mean, there is a bubble here. There's something I think beautiful here about the people. You can't find this anywhere else. And if you want to build the future, there's people here who are thinking about the future. And I think that's contagious and that's hard to leave. It's funny, you can leave, but I don't know if that personality will ever leave you. And I think that's what's so hard is, go spend a few weeks in Montana. Epic. Favorite state for sure, or at least for a few weeks. But is that a sustainable long-term life for the ambition and the way you think? Probably not. So I think that's, you can take yourself out of the place, but who you are isn't going to change in that sense. So I think you're right. What's cultivated here because of what's here is truly unbelievable. But it's, you're right. It's limiting in perspective because it's such a small part of the world in the grand scheme of things. So, wow, it's been an amazing chat. I mean, we'll ride this out to the top of the hour. I'm thinking of where we want to take this next. What would you say, Daniel? As you look at the future of JustPaid, the current company you're doing now, maybe just give us a brief overview of what it does, but beyond what it does, like, okay, if you're going to fight for the next 5 years, like, what do you see? Like, where is JustPaid in 5 years? What's it, how's it operating? What's it functioning like? How's it unique in the market? Give us your, grand vision.
I mean, for me, I've been in startups a long time and I've seen companies operate. And we started the company with the premise of like making payments easier for businesses, business to business payments. And, as AI gets better and better and better, and you have these mega corporations like pouring money into the infrastructure, we want to be on top of it, allowing businesses to collect their revenue in a really insightful, smart way. So the way I envision it is like, you have like a startup with like two people. They can't really afford like an AR, accounts receivable person. So one of the founders is spending like, 8 hours a month, 8 hours a week, trying to get customers to pay them. If we could drop in an AI agent that could do that job, then the founders can run their company and not have to worry about like revenue collections. And like, it's apparent to me that this is going to happen. It's a matter of when. It could be a year from now we're trying to build as much of that, but it's going to be like a thing where like you start a company, you get a bank account, you start a company, you get a credit card, you start a company, you have to figure out how to take payments, right? So like we want to be that third wheel of this where bank, credit card payments, boom, you've got it all. And then we're the AR agent, accounts receivable agent. So whatever you do, like you sign an agreement, someone owes you money, you give it to your AR agent, accounts receivable agent, and it will try its best to make them pay on time. And it's just, it's like a task people don't want to deal with. So they hire a part-time collections person, and it's burdensome and annoying, and you want to build your company. So like for us, we want to take that one piece off. And like, why that? Because payments are such a huge space. There's so many companies that have the same issue, big and small. I felt excited by the depth of the problem. And I'm like, this is something I could work on for 10 years. I could tackle this and figure out how to make it work for people running businesses.
I like it. The third wheel makes a lot of sense. I totally track with that visual and why that's so important. Who do you see as, like, okay, let's say you're an exit. Is this a bank?
Oh, this company?
Yeah, like where? How do you see this integrating? Like,
it layers on top. It's like a layer. It's like everything's a wrapper of a wrapper. So like, and what I mean by that is like you have, like, say, take AWS. You have like physical servers with CPUs and memory, and then they layer on their software on top of it. And then, you have like Perplexity layer their software on top of that. And then with us, like say there's a bank, that's a whole nother layer of like regulation and stuff. So there's a bank. And then on top of the bank is a JustPaid. So there's like layers of infrastructure out there. So I don't see us as a bank. We're not going in the direction of a bank. I just see us as okay, you have your bank account. How do we get paid now? Right? Like you could hire someone and then that person can generate invoices manually and just take care of it and then make sure that you're paid. But then you're hiring a person, which isn't wrong. But when you get 100 customers, you can probably handle it. When you have 200, you could probably handle it. When you have 5,000 customers, I spoke to one lead and they had like 200,000 invoices outstanding. 200,000 invoices. Yeah. How do you deal with that? Like people owe you money. You have to just hire piles of people to like take care of that right now. And that's just the way the world works. So like as you become more successful, the stress gets bigger. You hire someone and then they're stressed out. So like we could layer on another infrastructure on top of the bank. And it should just be there. Like I think it should just be there. Like it's almost like ChatGPT is like layered into your computer now and your phone, right? It's just another layer and it makes it just a little bit better and faster. We're doing that for the payment side. We're just going to make payments just a little bit better and faster. Sure, there's people involved, but it's not going to be like where it was before where you just hire a bunch of people.
That's great. Tracking with you, man. This has been fantastic. Probably one of maybe our best conversation to date. Sounds like we should do more. Daniel, where can people find you? Where can people find JustPaid? I want you to stay on at the end for 1 minute.
Yeah. You could find me on justpaid.ai. That's our website. If you book a demo and request me, I'll do the demo personally. So just write it in the note field.
All right. Book Daniel for a demo. Love it. Cool, Daniel. Thanks so much for your time, sharing your journey and your raw insights. And you're a real one, dude. Excited to see where this goes.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian.
Daniel's story shows that survival in startups and in life comes down to persistence, people, and purpose. He turned unimaginable personal loss into fuel to keep building, and learned that no company can thrive without a team that believes in the mission as much as the founder does. He reminded us that entrepreneurship isn't glamorous. It's demanding, emotional, and often lonely, but also deeply rewarding for those who push through. His decision to start again with JustPaid proves that experience and resilience compound, and that staying in the game keeps you sharp. Daniel continues to lead with clarity, purpose, and a deep respect for people who make innovation possible. If this episode gave you something valuable, a new insight, a moment of reflection, or a reason to keep going, take a minute to leave a review and share it with someone building their own path. It makes a real difference. New episodes every Tuesday and Friday. I'll see you on the next one.